Nobody knew what was going to happen after Perry Stone stepped onto the platform. The crowd was taken aback as he dropped a bombshell regarding Joni Lamb, prompting a cascade of questions and horror. This was more than a casual remark. I had a revelation that sent them running for solutions. Tell me what Perry said. What gives? How will Joni react to such a shocking revelation? No one anticipated this. That much is certain. I am Perry. No one saw coming from Stone during his most recent live stream, despite his long history of prophetic pronouncements and fearless speech. What began as an update abruptly turned into a confession, shocking his listeners. Maintaining an air of composed gravity while seated in front of the camera, his words reverberated through the religious community like a tsunami. Among Christian broadcasting's most famous faces, Joanie Lamb had been doing more than only leading a network at Daystar. Perry asserted that she was actively directing in the realm of Christian media. People had been hushed about Daystar's inner workings for years. Most people just thought the rumors were idle chatter, but there were rumblings of expectations, pressure, and unwritten deals. After all, Joni had always come across as a rock-solid co-founder who kept things running smoothly. The legacy of Marcus Lamb continues. On the other hand, Perry's speech was far from that of a gossip monger. His words were heavy with the experience of someone who has been there. The pressure that Daystar's financial support came with unseen strings was something that even he had experienced, he confessed. As his voice quivered, he revealed that there were implicit expectations regarding the type of prophetic messages he was expected to provide. He also mentioned that there were moments when he felt more like controlled than supported. I didn't feel the need to rant or attack at that point. It was almost confessional, as after bearing this weight for so long, Perry ultimately realized that remaining silent was his only option. He clarified that this extends beyond television. It's about using God's people as pawns to further another person's goal, and I am no longer able to remain silent. Although the words were straightforward, the effect was explosive. The live stream conversation was inundated with viewers. Within hours, footage featuring Perry and Joni were becoming viral on social media, and related hashtags were trending as well. Many were impressed by Perry's boldness for speaking up on issues that others had kept to themselves, private. Some suspected he was trying to sow discord and questioned his intentions. Regardless of opinions, though, one thing seemed evident: he had severed the head of an entity considerably greater than himself. Through the use of his own name and renown on Perry Stone, escalated a public crisis based on years of supposition. Daystar and Joanie Lamb's narrative took a dramatic turn at that moment. Let us begin by making a statement regarding 2025 and the word that the Lord has given us. Individuals will send us they may contact us via personal text messages or professional emails, since they are aware that the Lord has given me precognitive abilities for the last 30 years. At it again, Perry Stone is defending Daystar. He has recently been sharing nightmares in which he is a fisherman in a lake full of souls, but the bad gossips are preventing him from catching any fish. Prevents ministers from carrying out their vocation. The dream you said you experienced isn't posted anywhere, Perry. A year ago, I heard from multiple reliable sources that you witnessed Daystar Joni and Rachel Lamb Brown, with Joni yelling, drowning in a lake. I had no idea this was going to transpire. Holy cow, is it accurate? Perry Stone, were Joni and Rachel submerged in water in your dream? It was like a dam breaking its first seal when Perry Stone spoke up. Rumors regarding Joanie Lamb and her position at Daystar have been circulating subtly for quite some time. Christian media's historical context. Conversations took place in private, away from prying eyes, and very seldom in public. Nobody dared to question someone with her clout, and those who did mostly stayed quiet. The moment Perry risked his reputation, though, the murmurs started to grow into a more audible and powerful chorus of voices that became impossible to disregard. A small group of folks started out. People who have worked at Daystar in the past started posting nebulous claims on various social media platforms. Names weren't always dropped, although everything was crystal obvious. Strange judgments, leadership that prioritized control over faith, and a value system that prioritized loyalty over honesty were all topics they covered in their writings. With each new post, the fire was kindled, and those on the sidelines began to make connections. The ministers arrived afterward. Pastors who had previously worked with Daystar started to make hints about their personal histories. A few of them came clean about the times they felt pressured to change the message they broadcasted. There were those who said you had to give in to their demands for attention and support by falling in keeping with an unstated goal. It was understood, but not written in contracts. Things got dicey quickly if you weren't in line with Joni's desires. They were finally able to speak their minds after years of silence because of Harry's statement. The tone changed as the story progressed. Rumors that had begun as such began to ring true like testimony. Reports were coming in from all around the world, and they all sounded very much the same. Claims that Daystar preyed on his supporters financially. The assertions that pastors were formally urged to highlight messages of wealth that were beneficial to the network. Tales of people who were forcibly removed, or whose voices were muted because they dared to confront authority. The words of Perry became more convincing with each additional voice, making them more difficult to write off as hyperbole. Enhanced through social media, the whole thing. Pastors and analysts analyzed Perry's every word as clips from her live stream went viral on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Some stepped up to defend Joni, claiming she was the victim of unjust targeting, while others added their voices to the rising chorus, expressing their own unease over some things they had witnessed. The once hushed tale of Joanie Lamb became a viral sensation within days, with hashtags relating to her going viral as well. Some of the stories hit close to home, which amplified their impact. The environment at Daystar was so delicate, according to one ex-employee. According to someone else, it was like juggling two worlds, the one that broadcasted the cheerful, polished image, and the one that existed behind the scenes of the regulated, pressured environment. Members of Parliament have spoken of persistent, understated pressure to shape messaging such that the network benefits. According to some, students were even told to steer clear of specific subjects that could cause debate or criticism. Their veracity was enhanced by the fact that these accounts were consistent. The trends were difficult to overlook, even though not everyone offered evidence. Over and over we saw the same themes: control, pressure, and loyalty tests that suggested leadership that appeared to prioritize power over ministry. Many viewers started to question whether they had been missing something significant the whole time after initially brushing off the allegations as mere chatter. The feeling of betrayal intensified as more individuals spoke up. From the beginning, Joni had been seen as a reliable face, someone who grace and trust were her defining characteristics. She was there for Marcus Lamb every step of the way for decades, and then she took the helm to continue his work. It was shocking to learn that she may have been manipulating events behind the scenes to further her own goals. Leadership was only one aspect. It all came down to faith. Gradually the chorus became more audible. Disappointment started to filter out from among Daystar's former employees, pastors, and even longtime donors. Some others went online and shared their old donation receipts, claiming they were beginning to wonder what happened to their money. Others took to social media to express their dissatisfaction with the network, saying they couldn't tell if the shows and sermons they were witnessing were sponsored or not. Public indignation has replaced private distrust. The news spread like wildfire on blogs. Audio shows discussed it. Christian and secular news organizations both covered the story. As word got out, more and more people spoke out, amplifying the chorus of disappointment. The accusation has expanded beyond Perry Stone. Dozens of witness statements piled on top of each other. Joanie Lamb said nothing the whole time. The volume was amplified by her silence. To some, her continued silence proved the veracity of the accusations. A lot of people were hoping she would clear her name and explain everything, but when she remained silent during the storm, it only served to amplify the voices of those who were already speaking out. At long last, the murmurs had blossomed into action. What was previously written off as idle chatter had transformed into a reckoning, and the question was now resonating throughout the Christian community rather than just among a single speaker on a live webcast. What degree of agency did Joanie Lamb actually possess? What does the veracity of the stories imply for Daystar's future and the faith its viewers have in it? The lid could no longer be replaced at that point. Whether the specifics could be established in court almost became irrelevant as the murmurs escalated into a scream. There was already irreparable harm in the eyes of the public. A woman named Joanie Lamb was now associated with one of the most publicized scandals in Christian television history, despite its former connotations of stability and faith. There was a gradual deterioration of confidence. The live feed by Perry Stone was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. What came next was the actual trigger for the breakdown. A wave of skepticism washes over everyone, and Joanie Lamb remains silent as watchers and supporters gradually come to terms with the possibility that Daystar was not what they thought it was all along. For those who had remained devoted viewers, who had donated, prayed with the broadcasts, and put their faith in the people on TV, this hit close to home. Someone had betrayed me. Many viewers were first opposed. Supporters of Joni took to social media to defend her after Perry's comments became viral. According to them, this was simply another effort to discredit a devout woman because she had spent decades serving in the ministry. Exaggeration or jealousy was even alleged by some against Perry. Defenses were heightened, however, when other accounts and speculations emerged, some from insiders and some from ministers who had collaborated with Daystar. Less robust. Even the most idealistic individuals started to feel torn. It was exacerbated by Joni's silence. She chose to remain silent rather than address the accusations head-on. There were no remarks, interviews, or efforts to confront the raging storm. Silence can be prudent in some contexts, but it only served to heighten suspicion in this case. The critics would assume she had something to hide with each passing day that she did not respond. Nowadays, in the era of social media, being silent is rarely an option. It must be perceived as culpability. It had a catastrophic effect in this instance. Audiences started to tune out. Many families have complained that they are unable to relax in front of the TV after giving up watching Daystar each morning. Anyone who had previously contributed, who had been faithful for a long time, began to wonder if their contributions had really helped spread the gospel or if they had been used for selfish purposes. Some went so far as to share their donation receipts online, voicing their disappointment and frustration at being taken advantage of. The previously unbreakable bond of trust was slowly but surely slipping away. Within the discussions in the churches were equally cutthroat. After Sunday services, concerns concerning Daystar began to pop up in Bible study groups, prayer circles, and casual conversations. Were we still taking a chance by backing them? Should we have continued to give? Members of the congregation were bewildered, humiliated, and even ashamed to be associated with a network that was suddenly embroiled in scandal, according to pastors. There were significant knock-on consequences for ministries that had used Daystar's platform. A number of prominent figures subtly withdrew, postponed, or publicly expressing their estrangement from one another. The loss of confidence affected more than simply viewers. It impacted partners, advertisers, and contributors. Businesses who had previously taken pride in their partnerships with Daystar started to reconsider their support. With nobody desire to be associated with a brand that is subject to such scrutiny. Even the ministries that paid for the airtime became wary, fearing that the association may harm their own reputations. Rumor has it that morale took a nosedive behind the scenes at the network. Staff members felt stuck in the center, devoted to their work, yet terrified of being a part of something that could fall apart. The collapse was brought to light by social media in a way that was before impossible. For a while there were trending hashtags that questioned Daystar and criticized Joni. Millions of views were amassed by videos dissecting Perry's words. People started looking for clues they had missed the first time around in rewatched footage of Joni's interviews which had been posted online. Without warning, every silence, every word, and every grin was cast doubt on. There was more to the hurt than just the media controversy. What appeared to be leadership now appeared to many as deception. Daystar has been an anchor of faith for a lot of people. It was the station they listened to when times became tough, the spot where they could support during times of difficulty. It was devastating to learn that the broadcasters may have been using message manipulation for their own benefit. Money and influence weren't the only factors. Faith was at the center. If Daystar could be deceived, then what else may be deceitful? Even more Christian media outlets were affected by the outrage. The controversy was portrayed by podcasters and bloggers as a representation of a larger issue. Too much commercialization in ministries, with leaders putting profit before people, funding and authority over sincere devotion. Whether it was fair or not, Joanie Lamb's name became synonymous with that aggravation. She embodied the unease that many had felt for a long time regarding megachurches and televangelism, rather than merely one network that was under scrutiny. Weeks passed, and the trust that had taken decades to build finally broke. The building fell with unbelievable suddenness. The fact that Daystar had been an inspiration to millions in the past was irrelevant. What matters most in the arena of public opinion is how people see things. On top of that, Daystar was no longer seen as trustworthy. So what if Joni did? By the time she managed to defend herself, it was too late. Trust, once shattered, seldom resurfaces. When it does, it resurfaces gradually, never quite unchanged. Scars from the trust breakdown extended well beyond Daystar and Joni. As a result, believers beginning to doubt the veracity of Christian media altogether. Donors were wary of giving because they didn't know where their money would go. People were looking for more genuine sources of inspiration and instruction, and it left them wanting more. For what became a cautionary tale, a reminder of how rapidly credibility can vanish after once being a popular figure in Christian radio. More than just a controversy, this turned out to be. From homes to churches to the entire faith, it was a breach of confidence and a collapse of trust. Community. Daystar may continue in some shape or another, but it will certainly change from its original form. And many people will never trust Joanie Lamb again. The fate of Daystar appears to be precariously balanced. During that time, the internet was considered a powerhouse in the Christian radio industry. Millions of spectators from all across the globe tuned in, and families put their faith in it. This was no ordinary TV channel. For many, it was a sanctuary where they could find daily solace in their religion and spirituality. The claims made by Perry Stone and the subsequent storm have begun to weaken that once solid base. Everything inside Daystar has altered, and nobody knows what the future holds. The atmosphere is gloomy when no one is around. Workers who used to confidently stroll the halls now huddle in corners, worried about their job security a year from now. Damage control has taken over meetings that were formerly devoted to development, expansion, and programming. Everyone is feeling conflicted about their allegiance to the Lamb, and morale is down. Concerning one's family and the dread of being implicated in an ongoing controversy. In anticipation of the worst, a few employees have begun revising their resumes. Some people are holding on to the notion that the storm will eventually pass, but even they recognize that things might never be the same. The audience appears to be divided from the outside. Many longtime viewers are now beginning to doubt the show's veracity. Did God truly inspire the stuff they believed in, or was it manipulated to suit secret plans? Donations have dried up for many supporters, and others have even gone so far as to quit altogether, made their decision to part ways with the network public. This uncertainty is particularly worrisome at a time when missions rely on faithful financial support and trust. It becomes very difficult to maintain power once individuals lose faith in the mission. Already there are financial problems coming to light. There has been a precipitous decline in donations, which were already on the decline due to the shift of younger viewers online. Advertisers and sponsors are discreetly stepping back because they do not want their names associated with scandal. Formerly funding ministries in order to air their shows on Daystar are seeking out alternative platforms that will not jeopardize their brand. The rapid depletion of what was once a reliable source of funding threatens Daystar's business model. Fights are breaking out in the boardroom. For some, there is no alternative going ahead is to radically rebrand, sever relations with Joni Lamb, install new leadership, and give the world a new impression. In their perspective, the network can only stay in business if it can demonstrate to its audience and funders that the past is in the past. But for some, it's an act of treachery. Joni has been carrying on Daystar's legacy since she co-founded the company with her late husband Marcus. Throughout the years, eliminating her would be the same as wiping out a piece of the network's past. There is now internal strife due to the lack of consensus on a course of action at the highest levels of the organization. The bigger issue is the fact that Christian television has evolved. Daystar reigned supreme during its prime because of television. As people gathered around the television in their living rooms to watch Daystar, it became a reliable source for preaching, worship, and motivation. However, modern youth no longer watch television in the same manner that their parents did. They seek out spiritual content on platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, podcasts, and live streaming. They choose independent pastors and internet ministries because they are less associated with celebrity endorsements and large sums of money. Daystar was doomed to obsolescence even before the scandal. Scandal adds an extra layer of peril. It appears that Joanie Lamb has an even more difficult path ahead of her. Those on the inside believe that she will try to defend herself and take back the narrative by issuing a statement at some point. Some see her lack of speech as an indication that she's getting ready to step down, whether it's my choice or the board is placing too much pressure. An era would come to a close if she were to depart. However, this may end up being Daystar's sole option for staying alive. For the network to regain any credibility with her, it may be necessary to remove her as leader entirely. People in general. A possible disappearance of Daystar is now within the realm of possibility. Its once impenetrable exterior now appears delicate, perhaps even hollow. It is impossible for the network to continue operations at the current level without substantial financial support, dedicated viewers, and the trust of business partners. On the same scale, all options are being considered, including downsizing, rebranding, or even closing its doors. Discussions behind the scenes are shifting away from topics of expansion and growth. Survival is the theme. Why is this so? The rate at which everything has fallen apart is tragic. Christian media held Daystar in high esteem for many years. It pretended to be a ministry based on faith and family and brought hope into the lives of millions of people. It was believed in, invested in, and trusted by many within it. However, that reputation has been tarnished by the accusations, the lack of response, and the increasing skepticism. The network will never be the same, even if it survives. Another more systemic issue with Christian media has been brought to light by the incident. Daystar is now being used as an example of what happens when power, money, and faith get too intertwined by critics. The focus switched from serving God's people to protecting power and control, and Daystar became more about business than ministry, according to their argument. In any case, it is practically irrelevant at this point whether or not any of the accusations against Joanie Lamb are true. The public views things a certain way, and that view can be as persuasive as hard evidence. Important things will happen in the next months. If Daystar chooses to disregard the controversy and continue with business as normal, it runs the danger of eroding any remaining trust left. Even if it takes drastic measures, it may not be able to return to its previous state. The Daystar golden age is ended, and the future holds no guarantees. Its achievements in the past do not guarantee its future, whether or not we'll ever have faith in it. And at this very moment, that faith is precariously balanced. One network is no longer the exclusive focus of Daystar's story. A cautionary tale it has become. It exemplifies how quickly power may evaporate when confidence is derailed, and how even the most influential ministries can crumble if honesty and openness aren't their cornerstones. One thing is certain, Daystar will either survive or fade away,